Well, hey everybody, it is Wes McDonald here with Flat Rate World, and I'm back with my buddy Kenneth Edmonds. How are you, Ken?
I am fine. Sad I had to come back from vacation, my first trip in 15 months. We had a good time, did a cruise, did a little AI time in the Bahamas. It was great. Now I have to come back and pretend to work.
Yeah, well, I get such a kick out of you that the one time you can't make a live stream because you're actually on a boat somewhere, in the tropics, and you're still in there commenting. It's like this man never takes 100% of a break ever. So, anyways, great to have you back on the real live stream.
It's good to be back.
Well, just to let everyone know out there in Flat Rate World, I am working out of a new space, which is going to take some getting used to. So sometimes I get power issues in this room. So if suddenly the live stream decides that it only wants to be 10 minutes long instead of the regular 20 minutes to half an hour, you'll understand why. We got a power conditioner on order, but that still hasn't arrived yet. And hey, for everyone that does tune in, please remember, where are we here? We love your comments and questions, and we love to know where you're from. We have people from all over the world that do log in and check out the program. And Ken, where were you again last week?
Last week I was on a cruise ship.
And where was that?
The Bahamas. I guess it's not quite in the Caribbean, but in the Atlantic, in the Bahamas general area.
Okay, well, that still sounds pretty good to me.
It was very good.
Hey, we're gonna have some fun today, Ken. This was a bit of a surprise and very short notice, but yesterday I had my first Managed Print Services Association meeting, both with the outgoing board and executive team, and then the incoming, right, for 2021 and 2023. So I have a special guest who I'm going to bring in, who is on the exec. Let's see if I can wrangle him in here now. Hey, what's going on, Eric?
Hey, good morning, everybody. How y'all doing?
Oh, no complaints whatsoever. Yeah, I appreciate you taking the time to join us today.
Very good. Well, thanks for having me. Yeah, it's we had a really good meeting yesterday, and so I'm really excited as well about the new board and new things coming for this year.
Yeah, we've done some incredible things together, and I know that it was bittersweet, right? We've had some members that are on the board that are leaving that have been with us for 10 years, right? And if people remember, that's basically as long as the association's been around. But like all good things, when those doors close, it opens up some room for some fresh blood, and we certainly have that. And I'm really excited about what we're going to be doing. And Eric Crump, just to let everyone know, he is actually on the exec this year as the secretary, and it's something that I couldn't do what I do without it, because really in my role and position, for the way my brain works, I need really smart people like Eric to keep me on track. So appreciate you joining the exec team. And what I'm going to do now is I'm going to kind of get you to talk through it. I'm going to put up a picture so everyone can see who the new exec is and who the new board members are. And maybe you can just take us through a brief introduction, if that's cool.
Sure. No problem.
All right, there we go.
There we go. Well, very good. So we have lots of different members in our industry that are kind of joined on board and volunteered. So everybody you see here is volunteers in the MPSA. So they've all going to give up some of their time and their expertise to help us as we continue to guide the industry around managed print services. And so, as Wes said, he's he had his first meeting as president. He's in his second term as president, so we appreciate that. And then we're also joined by Joe Barganer, who's previous president actually in the association, and he's coming as our new vice president. So we're excited to have him come on board and bring back from some of the history of the MPSA and also his experience in the industry. We have return treasurer Mark Hart from ACDI, so we're excited to have him here. I used to work with him for a long time at Lexmark, so very familiar with him and working with him in the MPSA for the last few years on the board. Myself, I'm the secretary, Eric Crump. I work for Ringdale, the Follow Me Print Company. I'm also one of the committee chairs for the Standards and Best Practices Committee, so I wear a couple of hats within the organization, and excited to try to fill the big shoes that Miss Tanya Stone is leaving me to fill. So we appreciate that. Yeah, again, she's really helped us out along the way. And I just want to go ahead and I talk about Tanya Stone. I know she's the last, but she's definitely not the last on our list.
Oh, I was just going to say,
definitely got to move her up the queue. And I just want to give a shout out to her and say congratulations on her recent recognition as being a woman of influence in 2021 with the Canada report. So that's exciting. We're glad to have her. And again, these are the kinds of people that are in the MPSA. We're excited to have her continue to be on the board going in the future. We have Anthony Chin from End Time Tech. He's a new board member, so we are glad to have him on board. He's a previous HP employee and leader there, and he's come on board to help us. We have Mitchell Philby, which longtime provider on the board and the education committee, and really puts all in to try to help push the association and help to push the innovation part of the MPSA. Sarah Henderson, which most people are very familiar with her. She's rejoining us again on the board, very active in the different committees, and really appreciate her experience and her engagement on the board and in the different committees. We have a couple of other new folks. So we have Russ that's just joining us. He's joining us from Century. So that's good. So we appreciate him coming on board and being a new member. Which is good, and especially coming from the dealer side, that's good that we have a mixture. So again, we have dealers, we have ISVs, we have OEMs. So we have a great mixture. We even have analysts that have joined the MPSA just recently. So it's really good mixture of experience and activity. So that's really great. So great to have Russ joining us. We have also Ed McLaughlin joining us, a veteran in the industry, which is great to have him on the board with the experience that he's had, and especially with all the different changes in the industry that has seen, and to kind of lend us some guidance as we continue with new initiatives in the future. Trevor Moses is new to the board, so from Tiger Paw, so we're glad to have him here. He has great experience working in the independent dealer channel, and it's great to have him on the board as he's in a different role from an ISV perspective. So it's great to have him join us as a new member. Paul Peterson, which is a longstanding member of the MPSA and also for the Standards and Best Practices Committee. Excited to have Paul rejoin us again this year for the board. So again, he's very cheeky, as they would say. So I appreciate him being on the board. And that's one of the things I think across the board, nobody's scared to give their opinion, and that's what we want. We don't want people just agreeing. We want everybody to kind of challenge ideas, and which is great. So Paul's rejoining us. We also have Tanya Ross. Tanya Ross is great. She's rejoining us again, very active with the membership committee and marketing committee, and just ready to jump in and help. And that's really great. So I've worked with her actually inside and outside of the association, and she's really helpful, and I'm glad she's continuing to help us along with the membership committee and the marketing committee. Aldo's he's joining the board. He's very active in our education committee. He's the co-chair for the education committee. So again, veteran in the industry, and it's great that we have him on the board to help guide us into new initiatives for the future. And of course, Ms. Stone, I have to maybe mention her twice. Again, she's doing an outstanding job, and we appreciate everything she's doing and to help us to continue with the different committees and with the board. So with that, it's jam-packed. So we have some great new members. We have some great existing members. And again, anybody can join and participate. You don't have to be on the board to participate with the MPSA. So if you can come and join, be part of one of the committees, we would love to have you. We need volunteers, and so
yes, we do.
We want you for the MPSA. So there you go, Wes. So there's my little
Yeah, I really appreciate those introductions. And, you know, as I sit here and listen, I'm glad you introduced everyone, because it gives me an opportunity to be really grateful, you know, thinking of this mix of people that we have with the MPSA, right? And it truly is incredible to think when you think of independent software vendors, OEMs, dealers, people from, you know, different countries. Like I can see looking at this quick flash, we've got at least representation for Canada, you know, Australia, so many different, places, right? So it's really exciting to, to see that mix. So yeah, super excited for the year ahead of us. And thank you so much for, taking the time to introduce everybody, and looking forward to working with you more as we go through 2021 and 2022.
All right. Thanks, Wes. Appreciate it.
All right. Take care, my friend. Yeah, super excited, Ken. Like I said, yesterday was the first of the meetings. And, much like what we're doing with Flatweight World by trying to share things to help better the industry, the MPSA does such a phenomenal job of that, and has always. I've never been part of an organization that puts competition aside. We have many people that compete in some of those categories that are on the board, and it has never ever felt that way. It's always felt very collaborative and very good. And we've really done some great things. And you're a member as well, Ken. So
I am. Yeah, I think it's a good organization. It's designed. And for those that are listening, I would encourage you to become a part of the trade associations, because that is a chance for you to get education and to be able to benefit from the experience of so many others. And in any industry, going it alone is the hard way.
Yeah. It's kind of funny you mentioned that, because I've often had people say, well, which one should I join? And I'm like, join them all. It's like, if you're looking to get a real sampling of what's going on from different perspectives, that's how we kind of enrich what we're doing in this space, right? Is to get as many opinions and ideas and learning as much as possible, right? So hopefully we'll give people some of that today as well, right? And what we were going to talk about, Ken, this is such an interesting one. We get to the point in the quote process, and I know we've covered it looking at the calculator before, but I thought today maybe what we could do is take people through what an actual customer-facing quote would look like for flat rate. An actual document. So when Ken and I are working with dealers building their programs, we also help them, build their collateral. So everything from the sales quote to the contracts to kind of the proposal that you're going to, to see today, right? And Ken, one of the things that I love about, flat rate, and we've talked about this a lot and we'll always talk about it, is this ability to give customers choice, right? And to be able to say, traditionally when we offer a managed print offering, it's usually one thing. It's like, here's my offering, pick me instead of those two other people. Flat rate's different. If flat rate says, well, I want you to pick me and I'm going to give you 3 ways to do that. So let's figure out what the best way is, and then we'll move through it. And I'm also a big believer in rules, and it's fun that Eric was on as well, because obviously the work that he does with rules-based software for users, right? To be able to actually manage print. I've always been a huge proponent of that, sending somebody a cost per page invoice is not managed print. Or I guess it's a form of managed print, but it's, I would say, at the very low end of it. If we're actually going to manage customers' print, there's probably more involved, right, Ken?
Well, I would say I don't even consider it managed print, because you're not managing anything. You're just billing them maybe a little different. And, in the industry in general, it doesn't look much different than, you're doing printers instead of MFPs maybe, but it doesn't really look any different. And the key to making flat rate hugely successful for the dealers that are participating is to be different. I got to put my purple cow mention in there. If you have a purple cow and nobody else does, then you're different. And in this case, we're going to give them a choice of 3 purple cows. They can pick which one they want.
Yeah. So let's bring it up. We'll see if I can find it here. And this is a ton of fun. And I always recommend to people as well, even if they're asking for a traditional cost per page offering, to make sure that you give them an alternate proposal. And this is one of the things that I love doing when I was submitting RFPs for some of the larger companies that I worked for. Was I was the alternate proposal king. I would always do one. They'd say, oh, that's a lot of work. They didn't ask for it. But it's amazing how much more business you can win when you introduce them. So satisfy what they've asked for, but introduce them to some new ways of thinking, right? And so let me see if I can share it here now. And Ken, I'm going to just get us up there. I might actually go full screen. Let's just have a peek and see if it makes a difference. Let's get rid of this branding for a couple minutes. All right. And let's get rid of the banner. I love this live stream stuff. You get to see it happen on the fly. All right. And if everyone can still hear me, okay, you should be seeing actually the front page of the quote process now, right? And I'm a big believer that, if we're putting something new in front of a customer, let's make sure that we take the time to really make sure that what they're seeing gives them more than just the numbers. It should give them some background on what we're offering them in the first place, right? So you can see here that we've obviously just got the front. They know that they're going to get a flat rate quote and that they're going to get 3 options. Oops. All right. So the first thing to let people know when they're getting this quote, because they've probably never seen it before, is that we're giving them a new way to manage your office printing, right? And we can talk about traditional cost per page programs, how it, oftentimes encourages people to print more volumes, especially color, and that it's not the fault of the dealer. It's just the way the model works, right? It's just the way that it's built. But that it is time to expect something better. And that the quote that they're going to be looking at right now, flat rate managed print offering, is prepared, just to do that. In other words, to give them an alternative that's probably, better for them than a traditional cost per page. The next page that I always recommend you put in, now that you've kind of teased them a little bit, is give them some ideas of what the benefits will be over traditional cost per page. And Ken, as you mentioned with your purple cow, this doesn't have to be gargantuan, right? That the beauty of purple cows is the differences are slight and subtle, but they have a huge impact on the customer's experience, right?
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah. So maybe, the other thing,
yeah, go ahead.
Hold on. The other thing they do is they make it very difficult for the competition to come in and bid against you if they don't have that same offering. And that is probably the biggest advantage, because now I quote a friend of mine. He always says, where there's mystery, there's margin. So when the competition can't look at your quote and know how you got those numbers, then you can start to build some margin back into your business and stop the race to the bottom.
Oh, I love this for that. And certainly for the customers, I just want them to think about a few things, right? The first one is no more counting. Counting sucks. I don't care who you are, if you're a dealer or an end user, because I'm not even going to spend any more time on that one because it's so frustrating. We count, they count, everybody counts. Sometimes we get mistakes and then we have to adjust invoices and nobody likes it. So we'll get rid of that need. That's the bare minimum, right? The other part is it's 100% budgetable. So you can go to the bank every month for that first year and understand exactly what you're going to pay every month. And then the third one is the workflow savings. And as you'll see in the quote, that the base level quote doesn't necessarily have to have workflow savings, but you'll see through the numbers will spell it out for the customer without you having to spell it out at all, why they should start looking at those workflow savings, right? And so we'll help to fix that. And again, this looks a lot like marketing stuff. This is the beginning of the quote because I want to make sure that no matter who this gets in front of, that they get a primer on what this flat rate thing is, right? There is nothing worse in the world when, what's the expression? A lot gets lost in translation, right? When somebody gives someone a quote that you've worked your butt off on, and then they don't understand it, and what they think they're looking at is completely different from what they're actually looking at, right? Yeah. So really important to include this stuff in your quote. And only then will we then move on. Let's actually manage print. So in this particular case, the dealers we work with are flat rate certified. So it gives them, just a little background on what that means and why they should be looking for that certification. And now we can actually get into the quote. So flat rate option number 1, you'll notice there's very little on this page, right? Because there's not really that much to talk about. And, Ken, as you mentioned with the cost per page billing, under the first option, there's not really that much that's being done for the customer management wise, other than giving them that fixed monthly amount. So, right. and that's okay. That's not the wrong answer, as long as the customer has their eyes open. If that's what they want to do, they don't want to change any of their workflows. They just want to pay for their print in a different way. Then this is a good way for them, to do that. So it's budgetable. And that's pretty much it, right? So I like this page having blank on it because I want the customer psychologically to understand this is the least benefit option that we're putting in front of you. We're not telling you what to do. We're going to show you some other options, but here's one, right? Ken, one thing that I love about the way that we build these quotes is that it's very simple, right? That the money there, we're not hiding it, and that it looks very much just like a subscription, right? So it's not $100.35 per month with a whole bunch of terms and conditions, because they'll get that. Once they actually get the contract for review in front of them, they'll get all those details. But for this piece here, it's very simple. You're going to pay us $100 a month for how you're printing, and that's it. Period. So there are options for excess print on the annual contract renew, as our friends in France do and a few other folks do, where they have that 13th invoice if there's any adjustments. And Ken, you know how I feel about that. If we get to the 13th invoice and we haven't done our job during those quarterly reviews to get them back on track, then shame on us, right? But at any rate, they may have changes. They may hire people. They may have new reasons to print that we're well aware of, that everyone's aware of. And, maybe there is need for an adjustment at the end of that term. Or we can adjust the second year rate, right? Depending on how they want to, kind of approach it. So the benefits, simple, budgetable, no more counting meters. So if that's what, floats your boat, then there's option number one. Now, Ken, if I put this in front of a customer and it was the only option, like what else are they going to think about? Probably a competitor's offering, right? So
Yeah.
But I want them to think about three of my things. I want them busy thinking about my things. So that gets us to the second option. And this is when it really starts to get fun, both for the dealer and for the customer, right? I love going through the calculator with our dealers using real customer data. I was just working with one of my partners in Australia on a couple of very different deals. One of them was the dream deal, right? Like, 3 times as much color as black and white. So when you're building these quotes out, like to actually help them, it's incredible how much, change there can be, right?
Yeah.
So the second option, as I always recommend, shouldn't impact the user's life at all, right? In other words, they shouldn't even know that something's changed. So if we do this flat rate option 2, and we put some simple rules in place, the users aren't going to notice any differences, right? Maybe, if they're really paying attention, maybe they'll notice a few things come out black and white, but that's it. So you get that fixed monthly payment of $95 for the toner and the service, the budgetability we talked about before, the options that we talked about before. But now we start talking about how we're, getting them there, right? Saying that based on their environment, we can get them a color reduction of 30% from email and web printing, which is pushed over to monochrome, right? As well as increased duplex to, 40%. And if we do that, what I love is this little additional savings piece for the customer to think about. And we never talk about this, Ken. I don't know why we don't talk about it more. So when we help a customer to reduce the amount of paper that they print, that's real money. Like we might not be charging them. It could be the office stationer, but that's real money. So yeah. I want them to see that. So that's an additional $182 a year in physical paper costs. So if we look at what we're doing for them, both for what we charge, that $95 a month, plus the paper savings that they're having, that they're going to save 13% over the workflow that they have today with no difference to the end user. They're not going to notice anything, right? I love that. Option number 3, you ready for the big reveal, Ken?
Okay.
All right. $80 a month from what their original spend was. So now we're actually asking them to roll up their sleeves and do a little more work. But this comes with additional benefits too, right? We live in a world right now where security, like when do you ever turn on your LinkedIn or your news feed and not see about someone who was attacked by ransomware or leaked information or, other things, right? It's rampant. So this third option is not only going to save them the most money, it's going to increase their document security. So how do you lose on that? So $80 a month. Now what we're doing, again, we've just described kind of what we're doing. You get some color reduction, some increase in your duplex. Now we have waste reduction through the secure release and toner saver in some cases, right? If they want to actually go with a toner saver option. So fixed monthly payment of $80, fully budgetable, options for excess print, like we talked about in the other one. Color page conversion to mono of 30%, increase to duplex 40%, waste reduction of 20%, and toner saver of 30%. And now look what happens. This gets even better. This is one of my favorite things, Ken, when I was in the field doing, assessments and then actually installing different platforms for user management, was watching the amount of paper that just disappeared, right? That once that authentication goes in place, just how much print disappears. My experience has been roughly 15 to 20% easily for, most customers, right? So in this case, we're saying that they're saving an additional $328 a year in physical paper costs. So now I can say for the customer, look, we're actually going to save you like real money, not soft costs, quote unquote, real money, 32% over what you're spending to get those pages out today, right? So We're very upfront about it, though. You do get some improved document security with secure release authentication, and you're going to see a slight quality difference from the toner saver. If you can live with those things, then that's where your most savings are going to be. And what I love about this quote that we've built for dealers, Ken, is that those options now can be massaged even further, and we do that all the time when we're going through the calculations with them, right? Because it is a question of the sharing of savings with customer, and we're always upfront with them about that. That we're going to generate some savings, we're going to benefit, you're going to benefit. So that mix can be changed through the calculator to get a feel for what's right for the customer, right? And we got someone, a LinkedIn user here. Thoughts on the same concept for SBB or CPS, cost per seat? Yeah, arose by any other name, right? Whoever the LinkedIn user is, that seat-based billing or cost per seat really is the same thing. I like to call it a value-based bill, and it's another term that I stole from the managed IT space, right? That they may use seats to calculate the cost. They may use a flat rate to calculate the cost. It could be based on a mix of users and devices, but what we're giving them, you'll notice in the quote here that it says $80 a month, right? It doesn't say for 10 users or 6 devices or anything else. That this is the value-based bill concept. And that really applies to, everything that you're talking about there. So seat-based billing, which I did a lot of work on in the early days, if people remember the road shows that I did with the company I worked for before.
I remember.
Yeah. And prior to that, when I was speaking about seat-based billing with Doug Johnson from Red Sage Consulting in the very early days, and then Eric mentioned one of our board members that's leaving with Brian Stevenson. I mean, that concept was born in a pub over a pint with me and Brian Stevenson talking about what's going on in the world, what's changing. And that was the first time there was that chrysalis of, that moment for seat-based billing, right? So flat rate, seat-based billing, cost per seat, really all the same thing. It's that value-based bill that we're, putting in front of the customer, right? So that's kind of it. That's all I have to share on that, Ken. But it's just really exciting to be able to put something together that you put in front of a customer and to remember that this document should be giving them options. And that's one thing I love about flat rate versus some of the other options in the marketplace is this ability to give them choice, right? And as I always try and say to people, there's no wrong answer. So if a customer says, well, I'm not sure about number 3 because the secure release, we tried it before and our users revolted and, maybe we're not comfortable with that. But I am comfortable with option number 2, but maybe with some additional modifications. So you said that I'm getting that color reduction from email and web print. Are there other areas we could save for color? And the answer is absolutely yes. Those rules can be modified to do many things for color. So maybe that's, we do a modified version 2 of the quote because now we know where they're most comfortable, right? Maybe they love number 3 and say, yes, I love that. The one thing that I would like to do instead, though, is not use the toner saver because, we have, for whatever reason, we think our people will notice. Okay, well, I'll come back to you with a quote that doesn't include the toner saver, right? So lots of ways to come back to the customer now. If they say, well, I like the first one, all we're really concerned about is just having the ability to budget, that's not the wrong answer either, right, Ken?
No, because for the dealer, we don't really care what they choose. We're giving them choices, and all of them are going to be good for both of us, for the customer and for the dealer. And so just whatever they're most comfortable with.
Yes. And hey, actually, you know what? I think our guest from before is still on, and we're just about finished up here. So I'm going to, if he's okay with it, I'm going to bring him in.
Don't lie. You're going to bring him in whether he's comfortable or not, unless he runs away really quick.
Yeah. Hey, Eric, again, I can't thank you enough for coming in to talk about the board. And I know that, the way that we do flat rate using the user management and stuff is obviously something that you provide as well, right? Those services to be able to help customers to do that. So I'm really excited by the work that you're doing, how you're helping the community to be able to do a better job of actually managing print. I'm not sure if you heard me say that earlier, but I really think that what you're doing helps us to actually manage something, right?
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. No, appreciate it. No, it's very good. No, but it's exactly that, customers that they look at it, they're like, wow, this is really impacting us. And having those dealers go back through those regular reviews and really show that it's really happening, it's really powerful.
Yeah, that's one of my favorite things whenever I would do sort of user management installs, was going back to the customer after it's been implemented, right? When you actually, to your point on those quarterly reviews, when you actually start showing some of the impacts that are, happening because of what they're doing, right? And one of my favorites always was, I'm not sure how it works in the States, but at least in Toronto, where I did a lot of stuff for school boards there, that they had fixed budgets and they were so excited because then they could use that money to go pay for something else, right? So like there's never enough money in the school system here, at least anyway.
No, it's the same here in the States. It's the same kind of situation. And so when you start seeing it's just making that decision to go for it and do it. And then once they actually use it, and it'll make a big difference. They see, we have, customers that are printing hundreds of millions of pages that are schools and, very large school districts. And once, some schools are using the solution, some schools aren't. And, the management or, school board, has the ability to look at that across the board, say, why aren't we doing this, from the savings and just productivity of walking around the school and being able to print anywhere you need to print at the school as well. So there's a lot of other side benefits there.
Yes,
as well.
There are. And hey, I'll keep you on because one of the things that I love to do, you've seen us do this before, but we have a 10-day challenge, which everyone can actually learn a ton of stuff for free. And Ken, I think when we went through that, it's over 11 hours of content, right? Like,
there's a ton of stuff, but I want to know how I'm going to pay for my next vacation if we give it away free.
Well, sometimes, Ken, that's the problem with working with a Canadian, right? We like doing things for the greater good, and that's really what this is. So, if you do want access to the 10-day challenge for free, we charge $239 for access, and we're quite happy to take your money. But what I'd rather you did with that money was actually join the MPSA. And Eric, what do we charge for a dealer membership now?
I believe it's $250. I think that's right.
Yeah. So it's a wash. You can actually get membership and the 10-day challenge all for the same price. So what do you have to lose? So make sure you visit yourmpsa.org, and you can get in touch with everyone you see on here today. So if it's myself, or Ken or Eric, we'd be happy to help you learn how to get involved. And as Eric mentioned earlier, you don't have to be on the board. You don't have to be in the exec. There's lots of committees that people can join and do join and help drive the mission forward, right? And yes. And two of the exciting things that we'll be working on this year, which are really big projects. I know that I've worked with Eric, had my hands in one of them at least, and Eric's had his hands all over both of them. But the fact that we are creating for the industry for the first time both a standardized kind of RFP process for end users to understand when they're looking for managed print services, as well as a standards and certification emblem, which dealers will be able to start using as well, right? So I don't know if you want to talk on any more of those points, Eric, but I really look forward to that work and getting people to join us and help us do that work, because those are both pretty big projects, right?
Oh, no, definitely. And we appreciate the feedback that we've gotten so far. We've been working on this RFP project where, how do we position dealers? RFPs are, nobody likes. It's like it's the 4-letter word. It's a 3-letter word, but it's one of those things. It's a challenge. And so how do you position your company to be successful? It's to be in front of the RFP. And so that's what things we're looking at right now is providing that kind of template to provide that a dealer can provide to the customer, says this is what you should be looking at from an MPS provider. And so kind of stacking the deck, if you will. And so that's one of the things we're working with for sure. And so it's, again, that's the better chance. I always tell everybody, if you're not in front of the deal, 99.9% you're going to fail, right? So yep. It's unless you have something very differentiated, that and unique to throw out there to disrupt that conversation with the customer. So that's one of the things we're working on. And again, the volunteers in the industry are helping us, and I appreciate the feed. We've done some survey work with the members and non-members of the MPSA, so we appreciate that feedback to help guide what's going on, especially during COVID. So that's good.
Yeah, we've been living through some challenging times, and I still can't believe the amount of work that we've gotten done and how much people have contributed, right? It's really showed me the good side of the human species. So, hey, thanks again, Eric, for joining us today, and we'll see you at the next MPSA meeting. All
right, sounds good. Appreciate it. It's good seeing you.
Cheers.
Bye.
All right, Ken. Well, that concludes, for today. So really good to have you back live and in person. So any last words before we kick out of here?
Nope. I just encourage everybody to think about the benefits of getting both MPSA certified, and flat rate, because those certifications are things that, as we continue to strive in both organizations to drive customer awareness, those are certifications that will start to take on added value as we go forward.
Yeah, let's get some good standards in place so that, when people are making decisions, that it's actually a level playing field with some minimum expectations, right? So until next week, everybody, thank you very much for joining us for another episode of Flat Rate World Live. And just like always, we'll see you next Wednesday at 11 a.m. Eastern, 10 a.m. Central. And until then, be well, keep learning, and keep selling. Cheers.
We'll see you.